Hey yo, welcome to the Best Day Ever podcast. It is your host, Tru Sav. Another exciting day in the Bay Area. Oh, I missed you guys. I'm still trying to come to grips with me being a hypocrite and all that. It really hurt my heart. Uh, Really quick recap. Last week was a really busy week. It was an exciting week. I um I work at Dickies, like you guys know. I'm the GM there. Shout out to Dallas, Texas. But it's tough out here in the Bay Area, so I had to get another job. Not another job, but an additional job. And wouldn't you know it, there is a 24-hour fitness right next door to where I work at. So went to 24, told them the deal, and I ended up getting hired there. So I work from like 6 o'clock in the morning till 2 to walk next door to 24 to work till 10. So I'm not really going to have as many exciting stories for you guys because I'm actually going to be at work all damn day. But hey, you got to pay these bills out here, boy. The Bay Area is no joke. So with that being said, last week was rather exciting. I posted pictures on my Instagram, Facebook, all that. I went to Solano City College to go watch the homie Shaniqua play some soccer. So Shaniqua is she's, well, first of all, her name's not really Shaniqua. I used to work with Shaniqua when I lived in Bakersfield. She was in high school at the time, and Shaniqua was a bit wild. She came from two-parent, upper middle class family, Wilford Bakersfield, and Shaniqua is Mexican, but I told her, "You think that you are a light-skinned black chick." Just she only hung out with black people, how she talked, stuff like that, and I would always tell her, like, you need to be very wary of how you're acting now, because you're not setting yourself up for success. Meaning, I get it. You want to be cool. You want to hang out and all that type of stuff. But the path that you're taking isn't really setting yourself up for success. I mean, it's all right to be from a nice neighborhood. It's all right to have parents who aren't struggling. Like, there's no shame in that. And I was honest with her, and I had shared some of my experiences. And it's like, I was wild when I was young. And I think the thing about being middle class is that it's boring. Meaning that it's exciting to hang out with your friends who live in, I don't want to say this. Knowing that the lights are always going to be on and knowing that you're secure and all your bills are going to be paid, it gets kind of boring, I guess. But like living in the rough side of town, like there's always something going on. Because I know I've stayed in some rough neighborhoods, and there's always something going on. Somebody's arguing or fighting, or there's somebody who's losing their fight with chemical dependency who's got something to sell for the low. Just stuff like that. It's exciting when you come from a middle class neighborhood, which is ironic because the people who live in those neighborhoods want to get away from that at all costs, and would give anything to be middle class. So it's kind of ironic, but even still. So on Monday, the missus and we didn't have to work, so we went out there, checked her out. I haven't talked to her in a couple months, but I talked to her recently, and she had told me what her schedule was, so we made a plan to go out there. So I call her the day before, telling her that, hey, I'm going to be out there. I'm going to bring a sign, like all of that. And then she proceeds to tell me, well, I might not play too much because I got in trouble. Like, come on, man. We just talked about this. How did you get in trouble? So apparently her and some of the other soccer girls went to some of the baseball boys' house, and something came up missing, and so on and so forth. So, yeah. So one of the boys came up to her before they were going to practice, and she proceeded to cuss him out. It's a whole bunch of stuff, a whole bunch of Shaniqua stuff. So we go to the game, come inside. I had my sign. I posted it on my Instagram and everything. And she wasn't lying. She didn't play too much. I think out of the 90 minutes, she probably played 25, maybe. But I don't think she noticed me at first. But once I could tell she noticed me, because once she did, she started pulling out all the trick shots, all the dribbling between people's legs and stuff. Because I always used to make fun of her, because I would ask her, like, are you even good? Like, you're on the team, but I mean, are you good? And she's like, I'm a baller, this and this and this. So she proved it. She was out there doing her thing. So shout out to Shaniqua. I might check them out in the playoffs. If I do, I'll post some more stuff. So that was Monday. Week goes by. Saturday comes. Saturday was a busy day. Saturday I worked in the morning. I worked at night. And I had forgot that my wife had got us tickets to the A's game. The A's played the Rangers at the Coliseum, which is on my bucket list. I'm not really too into sports, but I mean, it's the Coliseum. Like, you got to go, especially since the Raiders are leaving. Oh, I am going to go to a Raiders game, even though I'm a 49ers fan. I know. I'm going to rock my Raiders stuff. I don't want no problems. But I digress. We ride BART, because who wants to pay $40 to park in the Coliseum to be stuck there for half an hour trying to get out? We get there. I have no idea what the tickets are. Like, I have no idea where we're sitting. I just know we've got tickets. We get there. We get in. We ended up riding BART maybe 10, 15 minutes. Easy, nice, easy ride. A couple of stops. We get there. Get into the stadium. And she hands the guy our tickets. He's like, oh, down there. So I'm like, okay. We keep walking. Get to the next attendant. Oh, down there. Keep walking. Next thing I know, we're 3 rows up, maybe in the section right behind third base. So I was like, these are pretty good tickets. Like, not bad. The whole time we were there, though, I couldn't really enjoy it because I was so tired. That and the fact that the A's beat the life out of them. They beat them. When we sat down, the score was 7-0, and it was the first inning. And this is a baseball game. So the Rangers weren't doing too hot that day. But it was still a family outing. We were enjoying each other's company. The people around us, they were civilized. They were. They had a couple drinks. Well, more than a couple drinks. But they kept the heckling. They kept the heckling to polite, playful banter. There wasn't too much bad stuff because the Rangers bullpen was right in front of us. So we're watching the game. We get to the 9th. And all of a sudden, I'm watching the pitcher, and he just doesn't throw the ball for some reason. And the crowd is going crazy. I'm like, what's going on? We look out to left field, and a guy has jumped on the field and is running across the field, like full speed. So we're like, oh, well, like, this is going to get interesting. Like, what's going to happen? So he's running. He runs through left field, runs through center field. When he gets to right field, one of the security guards comes out and is obviously going to try to tackle him. So he sees him. He sees the security guard. He breaks for the right field fence. He puts a little Barry Sanders moves on him. The old guy that was trying to tackle him drops his walkie-talkie and trips and falls. So the crowd's loving it. He gets to the fence. As he's jumping, another security guard tries to grab him. Now, he cleared the fence. He got to the fence in 1 step, 2 step, is over the fence. He's trying to flip. Security guard reaches for his leg. He misses. Dude clears the fences, and he thinks he's off. Wrong. He jumps the fence right to where all the cops are standing, waiting for the game to be over. So they cuff him, escort him out. So everyone in our section is like, oh, well, he's going to jail, and it's a $10,000 fine, and this and this and this and this. And one of the guys that works there says, no, it's just a $250 fine, and they kick you out for like the year or a couple years or something. But my first question was, how will they know it's him if he comes back? Like, even basketball, like, if they kick you out, how would they know it's you? Like, you don't have to buy the ticket using your name. And as long as you don't do any other crazy stuff, like, they'll But I digress. So that was amazing. Then after the game, we were treated to another special delight because it was the last fireworks show of the year. So that was what's up. So we actually went on a, because usually we'll watch the fireworks from across the street. We're cheap. But this time we actually went out onto the field and watched. And that was, I didn't post any pictures of that. I might post one on Flashback Friday or something. So that ends. We get back on BART, ride back. You know, the ride back was kind of rough because now you're on the BART full of drunk people that smell like alcohol and sweat. That was rough. But we finally get back. And then Sunday morning, I know it was a busy week. We end up driving to Sacramento to go to my niece. My brother-in-law's child was my niece-in-law. My niece. And they had a softball game. Now, this was more exciting than the pro game because it's a little kid. She's 8. So there's overthrows. There's 4 straight ball walks. There's, at one point, I think 3 batters in a row got hit. Like, it was, it was fun. We ended the weekend on a high note. Now, I said all of this to say I was still thinking about me being a hypocrite. It stuck with me all last week. Jeez, my knees. So while I was thinking about being a hypocrite, one of the other things that crossed my mind was I used to always say, well, I told you, jeez, my knees. I need some water. Hold on, guys. Give me a second. Oh, shit. I'm pressing the wrong thing. We're going to be here all night. And through the power of radio, I'm back that fast. Jeez. So, what I was saying, like I said a long time ago, when my dad had asked me what I wanted to be when I grew up, my answer was simply happy. And that had been working for a while. You know, so being happy for me was just not holding on to old shit and kind of progressing gradually day by day, not taking things personally, hence having a mantra like best day ever. But something happened. Well, I guess one thing, a story that kind of reminds me of that is 8th grade. A girl whose name I won't mention. I won't put her on blast. She had a birthday party. And there was 2 guys I used to carpool with. So everyone got invited. Those 2 got invited, but I didn't. And I was like, whatever. It happened. So I had asked, like, how come you didn't invite me? Oh, well, you're too immature. Something. I was like, all right, whatever. I can accept that. So then when I had a birthday party, I invited all the same people she invited, plus her. And my mom had said, well, why did you invite her if she didn't invite you to your party? And I was like, well, it would be awkward if I didn't invite her. Plus, I just want to have a good time. Like, I'm not really into holding on to stuff like that. And in the end, everything worked out. It was an early example of me taking the high road, even though I didn't know I was taking the high road at that point. But I was thinking about just being happy. And that's what I was going to talk about. It's like, why am I always so happy? And what does that mean in context with having goals and stuff like that? And I came across a really interesting video. My man, Jordan Peterson, he's a clinical psychologist out of Canada. A lot of great videos. I got lost in the videos, and it actually made me change the topic today. He had a lecture. Well, it's not. He had a lecture series, and it was 40 ways to change your life. And he wrote a book about the first 12, and the first 3 really jumped out. The first one was make your bed or clean your room, and it was it's like clean the room. Like, what do you mean? And what he meant by clean your room was no one can really take you serious until you make the changes that you're telling other people to make. Or if you don't have your things in order, why would someone listen to you? And at first I didn't really get it. I was kind of like, that doesn't make sense. It doesn't. But then I thought about it, and it was like, Would you take workout advice from a fat personal trainer? Now, that's not to say that you can't be knowledgeable on a subject, even if you don't take your own advice. One of those do as I say, not as I do moments. But it actually will help you seem more believable or knowledgeable on the subject. Just like a homeless person giving advice on financial situations. My favorite one is always, I tell men and women, if you're in a relationship, why would you take advice from a single person? Now, that's not to say that single people can't offer good advice, but a lot of times, even in my relationships, I don't know, other people's relationships, they take the advice of single people, like, oh, you shouldn't do this, or I wouldn't put up with that. And this is like, well, you're not married, or you're not in a happy, healthy relationship. So my absolute favorite, though, are people who are in bad relationships and want to give relationship advice. Like, your dude cheats on you, steals from you, does all this, and you want to tell me what I need to do with my relationship, but you don't have your house in order. And once I thought about it along those lines, it made 100% sense. Like, before you can try to present yourself as an expert or try to even offer advice, you need to make sure that your house is in order, or your room is clean, as he said. The second thing that he said was be honest. Now, I know this is kind of a misnomer, like be honest, but he was saying you have to be completely honest. So even if being honest is to your detriment, whether that's with your partner or with your boss, your neighbor, whoever, prime example being, the reason he said that this needed to be was because if you're not honest, then you never know that the outcome that you're getting is the right outcome or the real outcome. Meaning, if you tell the truth, you can be content with knowing that this is the best that it could have ever been. Because if you lie and you're deceitful, then you never really know because you're basing everything off of a lie. But if you're honest with people about your feelings or what really happened, then you know that this is the best that could have happened. You don't have any regret or, oh, well, I wonder what if this would have happened. I wonder if that, I could have changed this. Like, no, you know, like, this is what happened. That's it. And you can move on. It's not that big of a deal. Me personally, I'm not smart enough to lie. Like, I can't really remember. I'm a terrible liar. Absolutely. Like, I'll forget. I'll tell the lie once. And then after I tell the lie once, I'll mess around and tell the truth. I used to do this a lot back in the day, so much so that it actually put me in a few precarious situations because I was known for telling the truth, so much so that people would ask me. So, like, prime example, I was with some of the savages, well, a different set of savages, we'll say, and there was a conversation about whether or not somebody had spent some money that they weren't supposed to spend or what they were doing with said money. And they said, okay, we'll figure this out. We'll ask Tru Sav. So I was in the room. They said, well, did so-and-so do this? And I kind of paused. I looked around. I was like, hey, you know what? I'm not really going to get into this. They're like, oh, see, there it is. He said it. Like, it's got to be a fact because I was known for not lying. And even if it was a situation where I looked dumb or if I wasn't in the best light, I was always known to tell the truth because it just isn't worth it in the end. Like, it's easy to lie and it's easy to be deceitful, but it's such a burden because then you have to remember lies and who'd you tell this and who'd you tell that and so on and so forth. It's just, it's not a good deal. Not a good deal. Then finally, really quickly, the last thing that he said was embrace your shadow. This was another one that I was confused about. I was like, what do you mean embrace your shadow? Like, What? What is he talking about? So he went on to explain that he means embracing your shadow is embracing the things that you don't like about yourself. Whether that be you got a big nose, you got your left leg is longer than your right, your weight, your hair, whatever the case may be. And he was saying a lot of times behaviors that we don't like in others or things that we say we don't like in others, like, oh, I don't like my dad because he was an adulterer. Or, I don't like my mom because she was a liar. Stuff like that. Or things that you say you don't like in just any people, not just family members. Those are traits that you actually see in yourself. So you have to be, a lot of times that self-talk or the things that we project on other people. I don't like people to do this or people to do that. It's usually things that you know that you do or things that you have a problem with. And it's just hard for you to say that you have a problem with that. Because it's hard to acknowledge your faults. It's really easy to point out other people's faults. But it's hard to take that look in the mirror and say, you know what? I have an issue with that. This is a behavior that I do that I don't necessarily like. So yeah, it was a deep weekend. There's a lot of self-reflection. But he went on to say also, one thing about being happy is it's not about, like, being happy isn't a destination. If your main goal to be happy, you're going to lose. So now I'm really mad. Because I'm like, dude, I had a nice week. I'm thinking I'm on top of the world. I'm just trying to be happy, and now you're going to tell me that my whole situation is messed up. And I was upset for a couple of minutes, and then when he explained it, it made all the sense in the world. And what he said was, being happy can't be the be-all, end-all. And the reason is because once you get there, then what? So if it's just, I just want to be happy. So, okay. So now you're constantly seeking gratification. It's just a joy thing for you. Like, and that's not the way it goes. In his practice, he was saying a lot of times you find joy from the journey somewhere. It's the journey from point A to point B, not just being at point B. So it's constant reflection, constant improvement, doing new things. And the more I thought about it, the more I realized he was right. Because it's fun making goals and getting to your goal, but half of the fight is the journey to your goal. Just like with this eating right thing. In the beginning, like, it sucked. And like now I got to, 60 days? I got to like 60 days. So that was the goal. So now what? Now that I just hit the goal, it's like, all right, that's it. No, like, there's ups, there's downs, there's hard parts, but that's the fun of it. Like, that's what life is. And if you get caught up in trying to be happy all the time or being satisfied all the time, you don't know how to react when bad things happen. Because that's what life is. Life is never always going to be good times. There's going to be different emotions that you go through. It's a roller coaster. It's peaks and valleys. So you have to learn to enjoy the bad along with the good. And it's like, damn, like this guy, he's something else. Because it's, when you think about anyone's life, like, yeah, there's times that you can think of fondly and be like, yeah, that's what's up. I remember this and it made me so happy. Like, good times. Let me think. One specifically good time I can think about was, again, back to the summer 2000. Like, those were the good old days. No bills, just hanging out. We had this was back when house parties were still a thing. So we decided, one of the Savages' parents were leaving. It was Dagwood's parents were leaving. And so, being the party planner I am, I was like, look, this is what we're going to do. Everybody kick in $20. Because I think we knew some people that were 21. So we were like, whatever. We can get alcohol, we can get some weed, we can get some food. It's all of us, so we don't have to worry about anybody showing up acting like they're going to do something. Like, we got security. Dagwood's older brothers, if we were savages, they were gorillas. So we knew everything was going to be good. So that was the plan. We get a list of all the savages. I collected all the money. So months turned to weeks, weeks turned to days. Now, we hadn't asked his parents if it was cool if we could have this party yet, because they were going out of town for for a week. I don't know, it was for the weekend, but it was like flight tickets had been bought, hotels had been paid for, so we knew there was no way they were canceling. So the day before, Dagwood and myself come to his parents, and we were like, look, we want to have a little get together at the house. It's going to be Dagwood, phonetics, all the savages. It's not going to be anything crazy. It's just going to be 10 to 20 of our closest friends. And we're not going to be acting the fools, nothing like that. Good times. His dad wasn't going for it. What was his name? El Babo was not going for it. His mom was like, oh, that sounds like fun. You guys are responsible. Like, you've given us no reason, like, not to let you do it. So I don't see why not. Well, in the end, El Babo vetoed it and said that we couldn't do it. So we kindly reminded him that, well, you guys are leaving tomorrow. And I mean, you're not going to cancel your trip, stay here. So, I mean, we're not really asking as much as we're telling. So they left begrudgingly. And so we started setting up. Now we cleaned the house top to bottom. Now this is a 2-story house. So the first thing we did, anything of value in the house went upstairs. Any rooms downstairs that there was valuable things in got locked. See, that's the thing. People don't plan parties correctly. Sorry, I had to sidebar for a second. People don't plan parties correctly. If you're going to have a party at your house, you can't just leave stuff out willy-nilly. You just can't do stuff like that. Like, that's how stuff gets broke. That's how you get caught. Like, you need to have security or people that you know that are tough guys, something. So we started cleaning the house, and the backyard was atrocious. Like, there was weeds that had to be 3 feet high. So we went and got gas, got the lawnmower, cut the grass. We cut the grass, throw the grass out, clean the house, everything, pine solid, do the cabinets, everything. We took pictures, we wrote down, because this was before a smartphone, so we had to write down where all the pictures were at, where everything was at, so we knew what it looked like to put it back in its original state. So I brought the speakers and the stereo system, all that. We go get the food, the alcohol, everything. So people started showing up. It was not bad for a house party. Maybe 80, 90 people showed up. Music, all that. So at around 8 o'clock, 8:30, the party started at 4 because we were cooking. So anyone who dropped their money, they were smoking all night. They were drinking all night. Anyone else who didn't put their money, it's like, you can go to the store. You can do what you got to do. So people arrived, like 5, 6 people that we had invited. All the savages were already there. Party's in full swing by 8:30. We got a knock on the door. It's SAC PD. So now again, you have to have someone that's knowledgeable about the laws in your area if you're going to have a party. So I immediately tell them, turn the music off. I'm going to go outside. When I go outside, lock the door behind me. Don't open the door if you see the police outside with me. The only reason you should open the door is if it's just me by myself. So, of course, I go outside, close the door. As soon as I close the door, you hear the door lock audibly from the outside. So the police were like, what's going on? I was like, oh, we're just having a few friends over, having a little sleepover. So they laugh immediately. And they're like, all right, man, look, here's the deal. We're not going to tell you that you can't have a party at your house. People aren't outside acting wild or anything like that. So here's the deal. We're going to be back at 2 o'clock. Or no, I'm sorry. They said we're going to be back at, we're We'll be back at 2 o'clock. If the place isn't cleared out by 2:30, everybody's going to jail. So I said, fair enough, officer. Shook their hands. They walked away. I knock on the door. Come back inside. The party resumes. So it was a night to remember. Good times were had. Good music was played. And true enough to their word, at about 1:45, 1:50, we were like, all right, look, police said the party's got to end at 2. Everybody's got to go. So we shut it down. As people are leaving, the same police car was parked at the end of the street. They didn't do anything. They didn't turn their lights on. People were leaving. People drove off. And good times were had. Now, the fun part was the next day. His parents ended up, because they had left on a Friday morning and were coming back Sunday. So the race was on. No, the house wasn't trashed because it was his house. Everyone was respectable. No drinks were spilled. No nothing like that. So we collected all the cans, cleaned the house, swept up the backyard and stuff. House is pine sol clean. So we move all the cans. I move all the DJ equipment. Or no, I'm sorry. Yeah, they came back that day. So I'm still there when they come back. So this makes for a really awkward situation. So his mom is now furious. Like, she's through the roof furious. This livid. Absolutely. There's nothing we can say to calm her down mad. His dad, on the other end, is pretty nonchalant about it. And his mom is upset because the neighbors had called her while they were on vacation and told her about there was this wild party and people are smoking and people are drinking. It was way more than the 20 people we said. Now, the dad couldn't care less because the lawn was mowed, the house was clean, all the dishes were clean, and the house was pine sol fresh. So, hey, they had a party, nothing's broken, no one got arrested. Good job, boys. So I mean, it's things like that are those are happy memories. Like those were good times. The opposite of something like that. Let's see. When I took a L. Probably, most definitely would be when I first moved to Bakersfield and was trying to be a regular citizen. And I couldn't get a job to save my life. I couldn't get a job at Dollar Tree. I couldn't get a job at a gym. And even though I'm always looking on the positive side of things, situations like that would kind of beat my spirits down. Because like I know that I'm beyond qualified for these jobs that I'm applying for. But I'm not I didn't have the complexion for the connection at that time. So it wasn't really working out for your boy. Even though, well, that's not really that bad. I guess. No. Okay. Jesus, something is wrong with me. I need some more fruits and vegetables. One story that I could say that, yeah, that was kind of light. When I first moved out, I think I told you guys about this. I wasn't too wild when I lived with my parents. I didn't really smoke back then. I kind of drank. Well, no, I drank back then. But I was at City College. I was 19, 20. I didn't really get down. And my dad he was always on my back about, this, you motherfucker this, you son of a bitch this. And I was like, dude, I don't understand. Like, why are you on me like this? Like, I don't sneak out. At this point, I've never been arrested. I've never been in jail. Like, why are you tripping? Well, as long as you're in my house, like, this is how it's going to be. I said, all right, word, that's what's up. So I decided if that's the way it's going to be, then I'll just move out. So next day, pulled up with the U-Haul truck. My man Simply Ryan and Fanatics came to help me pack all my stuff. So the look on my parents' face when they came home to see the U-Haul truck, it was priceless. Like, well, what are you doing? It's like, well, you told me if I didn't like the rules to get the fuck out, so this is me getting the fuck out. So I'm going to holler at y'all. And it worked for a while. I was working, and I was still going to school. Um, I had an apartment for about a year or so. Then my roommates didn't really work out. So I was couch surfing for a while. I bought a storage, put myself in storage. And for a couple of months, I was just couch surfing. Then after I rode all the couches I could ride, I ended up sleeping in the whip. And after I slept in the whip, someone that told my mom had found out. So then it wasn't the best because I was still working. But you have to have a cosigner to get an apartment, and back then it wasn't so easy to find roommates. There was no Craigslist, stuff like that. So they finally were like, look, we know what you're doing. Just come back to the house. And I was like, no, I'm not coming home. I'm not dealing with that. They were like, no, you don't understand. If you don't come back, we're going to report your car stolen. Because they were co-signers at the time. So I was like, you got me. So while at the time I didn't necessarily appreciate the situation because it wasn't the best, I understand now, like my man was saying, you have to take the good with the bad. So there's going to be highs, there's going to be lows, but that's the journey of life. Because without those highs and lows, like, what is it? You're just sitting on the couch playing Madden all day? Like, that's not the life. That's not the life for your boy. So after thinking about it, it made me, I was in deep reflection for the next day or two. Like, well, why am I so happy? And like, why do I have such a positive outlook on things? And it made me think, as much as I would hate to admit it, I would have to think it was my Christian upbringing, and maybe just my parents. I never saw them react negative. I don't want to say negatively. I never saw them act pessimistically. Like, it was never a woe is me. It was never things are so bad, they'll never get worse. It was always, if something bad happens, there's always tomorrow. Like, that was as much as I don't want to get preachy, that was one of the things I always remembered. It was one of the things was never let the sun set on your anger. And that's applicable for relationships, not only interpersonal relationships, but Jesus Christ, both kinds of relationships, whether it be with another person or just your friends. Like, you can't be upset with things. You got to let stuff go. Like, there's always tomorrow. There's always another chance to get it right. And there's so many things that you have going for you. I mean, it's literally the topic of this podcast. Yeah, yesterday happened. It might have been good. It might have been bad. I don't know what tomorrow is going to be, but I know right now, I'm enjoying it. When I when I was on vacation at RCCC, I would walk around. Well, Jesus. For those of you who don't know, RCCC is Rio Consumnes Correctional Center out in Sacramento. And when I went on one of my vacations there, every time I went on vacation there, I would walk around the yard when we had yard time. Like, I would just hands in pockets and just walk around. Oh, this served two purposes, really. The first purpose was I didn't want to interact with anybody. Like, I would interact when I had to, but I wasn't going to get too involved because I only had, at most, I think 45 days. So I wasn't going to put myself in any situations that were too ridiculous. But I would just walk around, watch the airplanes take off, just kind of walk around, not be too sad, too happy. And they started calling me Andy Dufresne. If you don't know, Andy Dufresne is a character from Shawshank Redemption. who he was in prison for life for a crime he didn't commit, but he never got upset. He didn't blame the guards or blame the system. He just kind of accepted it and learned how to live with it. And I didn't think it was strange when they said, I mean, it was just my personality. Like, you kind of have to accept the way things are. Like, you can't get too upset. I think, what is it? If you're a church person, you should know this one. It's what is it? God grant us the serenity of mind to accept that which cannot be changed, courage to change that which can be changed, and wisdom to know the one from the other. So grant us the serenity of mind to accept the things we cannot change, courage to change what we can, and wisdom to know one from the other. Something that I didn't remember that I had to write it down, but that kind of stuck with me because it's like there's things that you can't change. I can't change I'm black. I can't change I'm tall. I can't change I'm ugly. I can't change those things. I can change that I was like 350. I can change that. I can change that I don't have a job. I can change my attitude towards things. I can change my drinking. So when you know that you can change certain things and you work toward changing them, that for me, I guess that's what made me happy. And that's what constantly made me happy. Or maybe I was just too dumb to know any different. I don't know. I think it was the latter. I don't know. But even when I didn't have anything, when I didn't have a car, when I was couch surfing, shit, even when we lived in Bakersfield and I didn't have anything, it was still, I knew it could always be worse. I met people that had, whether it was when I was on vacation or CCC, people I knew in real life. I mean, volunteering at a homeless shelter, you see the worst of the worst. Like, and a lot of times, a big misconception is that people who are homeless are either homeless because they're lazy or because they have a drug or alcohol addiction, stuff like that. And that's not necessarily true. Some people can't get a job. Like, some people don't have the skills to do so. Or if they do, one thing that I saw a lot of was working homeless. Now, I didn't know, like, that blew my mind. I didn't know what that was. And basically it was people who had jobs, but they couldn't afford rent. Or one person was working and the other person couldn't. So there was a family, and I'll never forget, they lived in their van. It was a mom and dad, 3 children. And they would come for breakfast and dinner at Loaves and Fishes. And at first I was like, wow, like, they're really cheap. Like, they're coming to Loaves and Fishes for breakfast and dinner. And one of the employees told me, it was like, no, like, they work. They just don't make enough money because if you rent an apartment, you have to have first, last, and a security deposit. So you're talking about, let's see, back then, maybe $1,200, so $2,400 plus a security deposit. It's probably another $6,000 or $7,000. So you got to have $3,000 just to get in the door. And if someone loses their job or hours get cut, you get kicked out. So now you lose security deposit. You don't have a place. Plus you have kids. So seeing things like that and knowing how bad the things could get, it just never, you could never tell me that I was that bad off. And I never understood when people would be kind of down on themselves and then, like, it's like when people go, oh, well, I'm not good enough for this, or I can't do this. I'm assuming this was, like, again, I'm not an expert on the subject, but now, to me, it seemed like it was a reflection of my parents again, because they were always encouraging. Like, they told me I was a dumbass from time to time, because I was. But they always preached to me that I could do anything I wanted, as long as you try, even if it's something that you're not good at. If you work hard, if you put yourself in the right position, it's not luck. It's being in the right place when the opportunity presents itself. Because a lot of times, there's a lot of jobs I got that I was not qualified for, but through persistence and will, you can kind of will yourself into the right spot. And I know that's what I do a lot of times. But with people who didn't have that or were pessimistic, a lot it was at home. Someone at home was telling them that they weren't good enough, that they never amount to anything, stuff like that. So when you take that into real life, I could see how people would say that they're not happy with themselves or they're just give up. They apply for one job and they didn't get it, and they have kind of a Eeyore attitude, a woe is me, and things are so bad, and I just don't. I don't know. I guess I'm lucky. I was lucky to be born to the parents I was born to because I didn't get it. One way, well, now that I think about it, one way this kind of manifests itself, it was at work. Because I know in the picture that I have, well, in the picture I have on my Facebook, I'm smiling and all my pictures is haha funny time. But like, I don't really smile that often when I'm at work or when I'm just walking around. So if you see this 6'2", 300-pound dude, it's like, oh no, he's kind of scary or whatever the case may be. But in reality, I'm the silliest person you ever met. I have a hard time being serious because I just can't take life that serious. I remember I used to work at Pac Bell. For all you young people, that's SBC. Pacific Bell was what it was called before they changed it into SBC. And I used to work there with Ricardo Montalban. And damn, oh, good times. It was in El Dorado Hills, and El Dorado Hills is a suburb outside of Sacramento. It's where the really rich people live. And we got this job through a temp agency. Well, no, we weren't working through the temp agency. We were working directly for Pac Bell, SBC, whatever the case. And when you see me, a lot of times people are just kind of like, oh, I don't want to deal with him. I'll pass. So I ended up getting put on one of the worst sales teams in the building because no one wanted me. But they didn't know me. Because, I mean, perception's reality. It's fine. So time goes by, and this was back in the days of 1010-220 when you would have to call for long-distance phone calls. You would have to dial all these numbers, and because you still had landlines in the house. There was no cell phones for $50, unlimited calls, and text messages. That wasn't a thing yet. It was still, you got free nights and weekends. So people would call you, and you would decline the call and tell them to call you back after 7. So when I was working there, you were basically calling people and trying to get them to sign up for phone service. So there was, I want to say there was 3 or 4 different packages. There was a $10 one, a $5 one, a $2 one, or a free one. So what I figured out pretty quick was it's because you were cold calling people. Cold calling is when you get a name and a phone number. So you call them, hi, can I speak to Mr. Smith? Hi, Mr. Smith, this is Tru Sav. I'm calling from Pac Bell SBC. Do you like your long distance service? Well, you had a script that you would go through and you would try to make these sales. So what I figured out was people don't want to buy stuff. It's pretty easy, especially over the phone. People don't want to be bothered. My sales strategy was to call and say, hi, can I speak to Mr. Smith, please? And I would try not to sound excited when I called because that's a dead giveaway that you're a salesperson. Hi, can I speak to Mr. Smith? Hi. So I would just be matter of fact. Hello, can I speak to Mr. Smith? Like, this is him. Yes, this is Tru Sav. I'm calling from Pac Bell SBC. Now I would say Pac Bell even though it was SBC because that tells them that this isn't a new thing. I'm calling from your existing phone service. And I was calling to let you know that since you've been a loyal customer, you are now eligible for a free long distance service. Now, this was fudging the truth. Well, no, it wasn't even really fudging. It was describing it in a different way. I say that because they had the option to sign up for a telephone service that was $10, $5, or $2, or they could sign up for the one that was free. But by switching a couple of words and telling them that since they were loyal customers, they were now eligible for a free service, they were more likely to say yes. Because if you have to sign up for something, it's like, oh, that's a drag. But if you've been a loyal Pac Bell customer, which now entitles you to free long distance, that sounds good, right? I'm telling you, man, sales is in my blood. So that was my script, and it worked like a charm. Within 2 to 3 months, I was top in sales on the English speaking side because we had a Spanish speaking side, and they were killing because there was only 20 of them as opposed to the 100 or so of us. So I was doing maybe 16, 17 a day. I was signing people up. So now this rubbed off on other people in my in my sales group. And now my manager, she was looking good because she's the manager of the person with the highest sales. And it was funny because I was just happy to be selling my little free ones. Every now and then I would get someone who wanted the free one and then they would talk me up and they'd say, oh, okay, well, that's great, but I do a lot of long distance calls. Is there a better package? And then from there, I would get the 2s, the 5s, the 10s, stuff like that. And there was 2 guys I remember that worked there that they would only try to get people to buy the $10 ones or the $5 a month, whatever the case may be. And I remember them looking at the numbers and they were like, oh, I sold 6 of the $10 ones today, or I sold 7 of the $10. How many did you sell? I'd be like, oh, like only 1. Oh man, you got to step your game up, something. And the people in my group would laugh because they knew I had the most in the building. Like, but I didn't feel the need to try to outshine anybody until one day when they got a little too big for their britches. And so, because everyone could look up who had the most sales in the building. So one day they were talking about how they had all these 10s and this and this and this and this. So someone in my group says, yeah, so where are you at on the list for top sellers today? And I'm like, oh, I'm number 30 something, but I got the most 10s. And they were like, hey, Tru Sav, where are you at for top sellers today? I was like, I think I'm number 2 today. I didn't do too good. They were like, what? You're number 2? And I was like, yeah, I mean, you just asked how many $10 ones I sold, not how many people I signed up altogether. And the look on their face was more than satisfying. Because again, I don't get joy from trying to outshine people or anything like that, but it's infectious. When you're confident in yourself and you're happy with yourself, it rubs off on other people. And when people know that you're not trying to get over or you're not trying to be a jerk to them, it changes how they treat you. And I think that's why I choose to have a positive attitude. I choose to be happy because it's, regardless of what people think about you, they know that you're a good person. They know you have no malintent, anything like that. To finish the story, one day, one of the managers, to try to, in an effort to increase sales, he said, whoever gets another sale in the next 2 hours, you get a water balloon and you get to throw it at me. It was summertime. It was cute. So I think I got 7 in the next 2 hours just because I was bored. So we all go outside. Now we're probably standing 10, 15 feet away from it. So I have 7 water balloons to throw. So I go to throw them, and I intentionally miss all 7. Like, I mean, in a silly manner. It's like I go to throw one, and I throw it on the roof of the building. I go to throw another one, and I throw it behind me, like to where I made it obvious to where he knew I wasn't trying to throw it at him. And it didn't work out that day. Like, nothing happened that day. But I made it known to him that I wasn't going to throw the water balloon at him. Like, I'm not here to do that type of stuff. Another guy, as a matter of fact, I won a DVD player because I had the most sales or something in an hour, and I gave it away to some kid who just moved into an apartment, and he didn't have a DVD player, and it was one of the DVD VHS ones, so it was really top of the line. And he was talking about he had just moved in, he didn't have one, so I was like, "Here, you can have it." He's like, "Wait, what? I can have it? Like, you're not going to sell it to me?" I was like, "Nah, bro. Like, I have one. Like, what am I going to do with 2 of them?" And I said all that to say later on, when I wanted to move to inbound, as soon as I asked one of the managers, like the managers that weren't in my section were coming to vouch for me to say, yeah, he should move to inbound. So that way I could come in at like 7 in the morning, be done by 3 or something. But it's when you have an attitude like that and you treat people with respect and dignity that they'll go out of their way to do stuff for you. So when people say, "Oh, well, I don't understand why you're so happy all the time and things could be worse," it's like, yeah, but when you have that kind of positive attitude and you put those kind of vibes out there, good things will come to you. Because you'll always get the benefit of the doubt. Like, you'll know. Just like I was saying earlier, when I was in the streets being a hooligan, I was still known as a good person. Like, I didn't steal, I didn't lie, I didn't cheat people. So nothing bad ever really came to me because I got the benefit of the doubt. If there was ever a situation where it was, "Oh, we don't know if Tru Sav did it," they would always be like, "Nah, he doesn't do that. He's not that kind of person." Even more recently, and then let's see. Oh yeah, we're running out of time. I gotta go. At work, there was a couple ladies who I had got into it with about the "all your skin folk ain't your kinfolk." I had said that, and they took great offense to that because they were like, "Well, nah, us black people got to stick together and this and this and this." And I was like, I agree to a certain extent. But if you're a piece of shit, you're a piece of shit. I don't care if you're black, white, red, yellow, or brown. Like, it doesn't matter. And they took great offense. And they had stopped talking. Well, that, and I had to write this other girl up because she was a terror. Like, she was a horrible person. She started fights with people. She was rude to customers. She didn't want to work, all types of stuff. So I had to write her up. And they were mad because they're like, "Oh, well, you should have looked out for the sister and this, and you should have gave her another chance." And I was like, look, as much as I would love to, she's just messing up. And I can't give her any extra leeway because she's black. Like, at the end of the day, I'm the manager. Like, I have to follow certain rules. So they didn't like me for a certain amount of time. And a couple months. So they just wouldn't talk to me. Wouldn't acknowledge I was there, so on and so forth, whatever. That was fine. Now, recently, because I didn't go out of my way to do mean things to them. I was still courteous. I was still nice to them. I would still say, "Good morning. How are you doing?" Things like that. Over time, it kind of wore them down. It's kind of a kill them with kindness. Because you can't go to another employee and be like, "Oh, we don't like Tru Sav. He's an asshole. This one." It's like, you mean the guy that buys us donuts in the morning? You mean the guy that bought pizza last week? Like, that guy. He's an asshole. Oh, okay, sure. So now it puts you in a precarious position where, are you going to come to work and be mad at somebody who didn't really do something to you? So after time has gone by, and now they started talking to me again and it's like nothing ever happened. And I mean, they'll never admit that they were wrong, which is fine. I'm not looking for them to admit that they were wrong. But that things like that remind me of why I am so happy, because I know it's not that bad. Things will always turn around, and when you have a positive attitude, it makes people like you. Because if you're walking around and you're mad and you're, oh, people are going to stay as far away from you as possible. And it's opened way more doors than it's closed with my attitude being like that. So I guess I'll just be the happy hypocrite. I guess that'll be me for a while. All right. So I have got to go, but I wanted to do it this week. I don't know if I'll have time with my schedule, and I don't know if we can get Cindy Mack in here for some Cindy Mack facts, but that's not my business. Coming soon, definitely in the next month. I got to get some cover art. I got to get some things popping. I don't know. Big things, big things. Follow me. Tru Sav Comedy, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Questions, comments, concerns. Best Day Ever Podcast at gmail.com. These episodes will be Tuesday. If I get it together, that's not my business. It'll be Thursday. I can be silly on there. I can be messy, talk about some funny stuff. That's it. Don't forget, I can't get yesterday back. Might not get tomorrow, so that makes today the best day ever. All right. Holla.